What's going on, guys? We're back again with another video. Okay guys, so now you bought your Pocket 4 and you want to get the most of this camera. Now the Pocket 4 does come with 14 stops of dynamic range, which exposes the highlights and shadows. You can bring the detail back. So okay guys, so you've gone out there and you've bought your Pocket 4 camera. Now you want to make the most out of this footage. If you want to make your footage look exactly cinematic as you now see on the screen here, well, you've come to the right video, because in this video I'm going to share my top tips as to how I set my Pocket 4 camera. So let's get stuck in, guys. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is, now, not rocket science, it's the most simplest one, is to switch it to 4K in the settings. Now the reason for this is because 4K is the most highest quality that the Pocket 4 is giving us. So always set that to 24 frames per second, and I'm going to explain why later on in the video. But the main thing is to switch it to the 4K setting here. So the next thing is, after we've set it to the 4K, is if you do want, it depends on your workflow. So if you are posting for social media, then you can change it to 30 frames per second. So things like Instagram or TikTok, you can turn it to 30 frames per second. But in the case of just if you're making cinematic video, then it's highly recommended that you stick to 24 frames per second. This is because whenever you go to cinema, you see these movies, it's always like 24 frames per second. You'll never see a movie recording 60 frames per second. So supposing if you feel you're gonna have some slow motion shots, then you can do to 60 frames per second. And the other thing is, always make sure that you follow the rules of third. So what do I mean by that? So basically what I mean is, so if your frame rate is going to be 24 frames per second, then make sure your shutter speed is at 48 frames per second. Or if you're shooting at 60 frames per second, make sure your shutter speed is at 120 frames per second. So always double the shutter speed from the frame rate. Again, this is done in cinematic movies and stuff. So, you know, if you also just keep in mind, guys, that the Pocket 4 does give us the capability to shoot in 240 slow motion as well. And 240, that is well slow. You can get these super slow effects, which is also good. You can always do these speed ramps as well, but I won't confuse you in this video. This video is strictly about how to get the most of your cinematic effects. So as I say, just make sure you follow that your shutter speed rule, the rule of third. So that's important. And the next thing we want to do is, if you go into your settings, always make sure that the bit rate is set to high. Now the highest one is because it gives us the most, capturing more detail into your files. So the higher the setting is, the more data you're capturing in your image. It's going to give you the best quality. So make sure you set the bit rate to high. That is a must. You know, I can't express that enough. So that is a must, that you change it to high. The other thing is, once you've done all that, make sure you go into the Pro settings here. Now, if you click on the Pro and it turns yellow, that means you're now in the Pro mode, and which is what we want, because this is what's going to give us the flat image. But if you go into the D-Log, keep in mind, guys, that this setting now gives us D-Log, whereas the Pocket 3, it gave us D-Log M. So D-Log is actually a good thing. You see D-Log in high-end cameras, this is going to give us the most of your dynamic range, whereas the D-Log M, that's kind of like a light version to D-Log M. So you can bring all the detail back in the highlights and shadows. So make sure you set that to D-Log in the settings. Now we do get this color assist. You can turn that on or off. Now I normally turn this on because it gives you an idea of how your color grade is going to look like. Now it's not going to actually bake the color color look into the footage. However, the D-Log, the DJI, they do have their own codec where you can install, specifically designed for the D-Log in the Pocket 4. So if you slap this on the footage, you'll get all the color back. And I will link a link in the description box below, so you guys can download it, and it's absolutely free to install into the white balance. Now the white balance, now this can vary. You can leave it to auto if you're in a still room like this. I've got my lights here, I've got the all the shadows and lights. So you only switch it to auto if you're going to be in one place where you're doing a talking head video like I'm doing right now. But the tip is turn it to manual and leave it on for about 5 seconds, and then switch it back to automatic. This is because once you start recording there's not going to be any color shift in your footage. So that's one tip I'm going to give you there. And the beauty is in the Pocket 4, it now gives us the flexibility to change your tint. So you can change the tint settings, but I normally leave it to auto. But if I'm gonna do a run and gun situation where I'm walking around and I'm making video footage, then I'll switch it to auto white balance, because if I do it to auto white balance, the camera itself will determine at what setting should the white balance be. I mean, the cameras nowadays, the small cameras nowadays are very good with the auto white balance. It does all the settings for you. So I mean, 9 times out of 10 I'll leave it on autos, which is quite good. So that's actually quite a good thing. So that's the other thing to keep in mind. Now the ISO range, I find that I don't put it more than 800. Anything above 800, you will start get introduced with this noisy image. So I tend to lower it to nothing above 800. If you can, lower it to 400, even better, but nothing more than 800, because that's when, as I say, you'll start to get introduced with a lot of noise within the image. So again, that is very important that you stick to them rules. Now after you've followed all these settings and you're finding that your image is still looking bright, that's where you're gonna have to use these ND filters. Now the ND filters, they're a must if you want to be serious about cinematography. They are a must, because it is basically sunglasses for your camera. So you can actually have a very wide aperture with lots of light coming in, but at the same time it's not going to affect your image because you're using these ND filters. It's also important for like time lapses, so keep in mind that these Pocket 4 can do shutter speed of 1/4, which keeps the aperture lens open wide. That's when you put your ND filters on, because what that means is 1/4 point shutter speed is actually good for things like doing creative shots like long exposure or time lapse, hyperlapse. So that's why it's a must to use these ND filters. So, and there you go guys, that does it for this video. Those are the settings that I normally use to get the most out of the dynamic range within the Pocket 4. Now if you follow these settings, then hopefully you should be okay. But as I say, the ND filters are a must if you want to be serious into this kind of cinematography game, because you'll find that it will be worth it in the end. And also it goes down to your color grading as well. So nowadays they do have LUTs, so that's very useful as well. Like I said, there is one available on the DJI website where it'll bring all your details and highlights back. So I'll link that in the description box below. But anyway guys, I will be doing more videos on the Pocket 6. So obviously now there are DJI have announced the Pocket 4 Pro camera, so that's going to be really good as well. But anyway guys, that does it for this video. So if you did like this video, please give me a thumbs up, smash the subscribe button, and as always guys, I'll see you guys on the next video. Thank you for watching.